President Trump delivered a stunning message to Jewish voters today. If you vote for Democrats, you're stupid, or, as he says it, disloyal. He didn't spell it exactly, but that's the extreme he's gone to fire up partisan division around Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib. Last week, the Michigan Democrat was banned from taking a trip to Israel before being granted permission to visit her grandmother on the West Bank. And after declining to make the trip, Tlaib delivered an emotional press conference yesterday criticizing Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and denouncing Israel's travel restrictions. It prompted a new round of attacks from the president, who tweeted today, "Sorry, I don't buy Representative Tlaib's tears. I have watched her violence, craziness, and most importantly, words for far too long. Now tears. She hates Israel and all Jewish people. She's an anti-Semite. She and her three friends are the new face of the Democrat Party. Live with it." That's Trump talking. Trump then resumed his attack this afternoon, offering this message to any voters who cast ballots for any Democrats.
I think any Jewish people that vote for a Democrat, I think it shows either a total lack of knowledge or great disloyalty. All right. Thank you very much, everybody.
Well, as the Washington Post points out now, critics on both sides of the aisle immediately pointed out that Trump's use of the word disloyalty echoed anti-Semitic tropes, accusing Jews of dual loyalty or dual allegiance. But this isn't the first time the president has spoken to Jewish voters in just this way. Speaking to a group of Jewish Republicans early this year, Trump referred to Benjamin Netanyahu as your prime minister, even though he was talking to Republicans, actually talking to Republican Americans. Let's watch.
I stood with your prime minister at the White House to recognize Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights.
American Republicans, of course. When he was a candidate in 2015, Trump also told a Jewish audience that he didn't want their money.
I know why you're not going to support me. And, you're not going to support me because I don't want your money.
For more, I'm joined by Democratic Congresswoman Susan Wild of Pennsylvania, Jon Meacham, NBC News historian, Michael Steele, former RNC chairman, and Eli Stokoe, White House reporter for the Los Angeles Times. Congresswoman, it's great to have you on tonight, but not for this reason, obviously. Dual loyalty, craziness, religious tests. I mean, I've never heard. This sounds like Ed Koch in the bad old days of New York City with real tribal warfare, of fire. Here's the president saying to Jewish voters who vote about 70% generally Democrat, stop doing that, because that would be disloyal to being what? Jewish? Your thoughts?
Well, that's exactly the question. Disloyal to whom or to what? As a Democratic Jewish member of Congress, I am personally offended, and I think most Jews in this country would be. We separate our faith and our politics for the most part, and to suggest that they are one and the same, I find to be offensive.
Let me go to Jonathan, my friend Jonathan Meacham, because this is history at work here. Often, I find it happen, the older I get, the more I find history crashing into present time. This is awful stuff. This tells people you must vote by identity, by religion. You must vote a certain way. Your partisanship, your politics must be arrayed by your cultural background, blah, blah, blah. It's a religious test. He's saying you must vote a certain way. Vote for me because there's somebody on the Democratic left in Michigan you may not agree with on Israeli government politics.
Yeah. The first liberty of American life was religious liberty. It's one of our great contributions to Western culture. Madison and Jefferson, before they got to the Constitution or Republic, were arguing that, as Jefferson once put it, it doesn't matter whether my neighbor worships one god or 10 gods or 20 gods. It neither picks my pocket nor breaks my neck. And that insight that, in fact, we could have liberty of conscience and create a republic was uniquely American, partly because of the terrible experience, and this is in the 18th century. We don't even got into the 20th century horrors about this. The insight was that the old world had been riven with dispute and chaos and bloodshed over religious struggles. And the great project of America, however poorly realized in the beginning, the great project of America was that if you assented to the idea of the country, that we're all created equal, therefore you could be an American. It didn't matter where you came from. It didn't matter where you worshiped. It didn't matter if you worshiped at all.
You know, Michael, Trump did this to me one time. He takes your religious background and he shoves it at you and says, well, you might, he says, how can you be pro-choice? Well, a lot of Catholics are pro-choice. We have our own beliefs about life and we accept them in the teaching authority of our church. But when it comes to the Constitution, we accept it. Life is complicated.
Right.
Trump thinks everybody does everything according to their identity. You're not allowed to have an opinion.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's
Exactly.
largely how he sees the world, and this is another play in it. All I can say from this comment, as abhorrent and disrespecting as it is, we need to just settle in, because this is just the warm-up of what will be a series of narratives created by the president around particular interest groups. You know, when you sit down and you say this about the Jewish community, then what about African Americans?
Yeah.
What about Hispanics? You know, how they vote.
Well, he wants you to vote against them.
And he wants you to, right. He wants you to vote against
that's
them.
the game he's playing.
But the Jewish vote should be voting Republican.
Yeah.
And so this, I think, is something in stark contrast to what we saw in 2016. I think it's going to be more personal and a little bit more in depth. It's going to cut, to your point, Chris, it's going to cut a little closer to the bone for a lot of Americans when they have their religion shoved in their face and a litmus test of how they vote based on that religion.
Eli, your thoughts about this? I think it's the front page, top of the story. Top of the fold story tomorrow morning. I think it's a big story. Trump using religion politically. Your thoughts?
Well, it's a big story in the context of a president saying something that maybe unwittingly that is anti-Semitic, and yeah, but
your prime minister.
But, you know, it's also, this is the Trump presidency, so it's hard to gauge what's a big story because everybody has seen him make so many stereotypical statements that are offensive to a lot of groups, and he'll say afterwards, well, you know, like, loosen up. This is how people talk. I don't know what's a big story anymore or what isn't, and I say that as somebody who covers this administration every day. But I do think that it's clear what Michael's talking about. This is a guy who wants people to look at the Democratic Party and see these four very progressive women of color. He wants people to see them. He wants them to see them as militant. He doesn't want them to see Joe Biden or some of the people running for president. And so he's going to couch that in, look, I'm standing up against anti-Semitism, because he's ostensibly upset over Representative Omar's anti-Semitism. Doesn't even seem to realize that he's attacking her in a way that is just as anti-Semitic. He's effectively doing the same thing, trafficking in the same sort of trope that he's supposed to be upset about.
Yeah.
And he's saying, look at this. And so it's just, it confuses everything, and it just makes everything incredibly tribal. But he's almost trying to protect himself from the charge that he's stirring up anti-Muslim sentiment by saying, look, I'm just standing up against anti-Semitism.
Congresswoman, it's so great to have you on, because I know every time you have a meeting up there in Allentown or wherever, New Tripoli, anywhere you're up to, my brother lives up there, you've got to deal with the myriad of American backgrounds. I mean, even in a place up there, there's all kinds of backgrounds in the room when you meet. You've got to bring them together. It's called politics in America. Unite people. This guy seems to be looking for the wedges. Let's get the Jews over here. Let's get the people who don't like what the people said about it. People have said about it. Let's get everybody fighting over four people on the Democratic left, and let's make that the fight. Because he can't fight anywhere near the middle lines. Your thoughts?
And you know, Chris, you mentioned the voters that I meet, and among them a number of American Jews. And what I have found is, first and foremost, American Jews are American. And like all voters, they have a wide variety of issues that they care tremendously about, whether it's health care, education, jobs, making sure that their retirement is secure. These are the issues that unite people across the country. And our president has no business trying to divide people based upon their religion or politicizing people's religion and trying to tell them that they have to vote in one way if they are of a certain religion. And the other thing that I want to say is being Jewish is also very much a cultural issue. It's not just about religion. And the president seems to fail to understand that. It is about understanding the deep, important issues that affect all people in the world, but particularly in this case, in the United States.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.